prepare to launch in 3, 2, 1.
Hello, hello, hello. What's up, everybody? Thank you for tuning in live. Tyler James is here with you, and we've got a good one queued up and ready to rock and roll for you all today. This is the big Kickstarter comeback panel. And in a minute, I'm going to be bringing on an awesome slew of guests, and we're going to really dive into this topic. If you are watching live, do me a favor and just share this out to whatever place you're watching on, and then comment and let us know where you're at and where you're at in this whole world journey of comic creating and crowdfunding. Do you have a comeback you're making? Are you trying to launch your first thing? Let us know where you're at. We're going to try at some points throughout this presentation to make it interactive, to encourage y'all to help us brainstorm when we dive into this thing, and just have a good time together. My name is Tyler James. I am the host of the ComixLaunch podcast. I am the publisher of Comics Tribe. We do a lot of comics. We do graphic novels. I've got a children's book brand. And for the past 13 years, I've been using Kickstarter to help bring stuff to life and get it out into the world. One of those things that I brought to life this year with the help of a lot of people that are both on this call and watching this is the comic book crowdfunding planner from ComixLaunch. And I just wanted to give a quick announcement relevant to those that supported this project. We launched on Kickstarter earlier this year, just a few months ago. Had over 600 backers, which was amazing. And I got word that as of like yesterday morning, the first 100 packages went out the door. I expect my team to have this wrapped up and out the door to everyone no later than this weekend. And that is for everybody except for those late stragglers to get their surveys in. So if you haven't got your survey in, haven't filled out the pledge manager over on Kickstarter, do that, and I will put one of these in your hands. And I hope this is a tool that helps you launch your very next project, because that's why I made it, right? And so just one other thing that I wanted to point out is, in addition to using this planner to do dozens of comic book projects, it can work for other projects as well. I use this project to help execute this latest launch for the C is for Cthulhu brand, and it saved me again. There were a couple of things, like little tiny things, right, that anybody that's done Kickstarters more than a few times know that there's so many steps in the process. I was about to go live in a couple of hours, and I went through my checklist and I found a couple things that are like small little things that I would have forgot had I not gone and done that. So use it. And if you happen to be someone that needs to grab some Lovecraftian plush toys, toys.csforcthulhu.com is where you can grab the latest launch. All right. We are here, however, to tackle an awesome topic. And that topic is essentially the art of the Kickstarter comeback. And I am joined by a number of talented creators for this stream that are going to dive in on this topic with me. I'll give a quick introduction to each of them, and then we're going to let each creator sort of share a little bit about their story, their road, their path, their journey on Kickstarter and in comics creating. And then we're going to dive into just the topics of, what happens when life gets in the way, what happens when you have to put the brakes on all of your big ambitions related to crowdfunding, and then what's the best tactic to mount a comeback? Is a comeback possible? And if so, what's the best steps to it? So we have John Slim Jr. here. We have Jason McNamara. We have Andrew Clemson, Matt Schofield, and Colin Devonshire. And just as a preamble to this group. These are all creators that I've had the opportunity to work with inside the ComixLaunch Pro program, and the fact that there are so many creators that have done big things and gone away from the platform and are coming back to the platform. It's just like, it reminds me the gray hairs in my beard. I've been doing this work for a while, and it's, as much as we like to see that careers are just a straight line from where we are to directly to awesome, it turns out it's more like a roller coaster, and that really comes across in this. I want to thank everybody that's watching here. We got some ComixLaunch pros in the house. I see we got Tim Larson, we've got Tony Cade. I think I saw George pop in for a second. Appreciate everybody, as well as those that maybe are sort of new to the community or under pseudonyms that I don't know. Again, share your stories. If you've got a live project that you're thinking about launching, if you've got a pre-launch page, guess what? There's other creators here that are looking to find out who else is doing cool work. They're going to be looking for projects to cross promote with. They're going to be looking for creators to interact with. So share those links in the chat. I do have this is a new feature that StreamYard just rolled out to show comments on stage. So that answers the question of what that little box was. I won't do it all the time because otherwise poor Colin, Colin's beautiful mug was getting overlaid. We'll have to do something with that, Colin. But so where I want to start, though, is with the creator that sort of ignited this, and that is John. John shot me an email about this topic of making a comeback, and he said, "Hey, if you're looking for a podcast idea, what happens when you've had success on Kickstarter, you've had momentum, and then life throws you more than a few punches, and you have to hit the brakes on it, and you have to take some serious time away. What does a comeback look like?" And John, I'd love for you to just have an opportunity to share a little bit about the journey that you've been on, and how you came to just shoot that message my way, just so that people can get a sense of hey, what this can look like. Oh, I kicked it over. There we go. I kicked it over to John just as he froze up there. So we'll while we wait for John to be able to reconnect, John put that out to me, and I said, "Hey, yeah, that would make a good episode of the podcast. I'll definitely want to talk about it." But then I also thought, hey, if one creator is thinking this, I know John is not alone. So I put the word out just to the ComixLaunch community, and a number of creators said, "Hey, I'm in the exact same boat there." And so I thought, rather than just try to share my wax poetic and share my insights, let's convene a panel here and let's work through this stuff together. John, glad you were able to connect back with us. Do you want to just share a little bit about sort of your background, your history with crowdfunding, the journey that you've been on, and how you found yourself sort of back here on this panel talking about a comeback? Okay. Hey, John,
can you hear me, Tyler?
I can hear you now. Yeah.
We
can hear you, buddy.
We can hear you.
Yeah, no one likes to start a show like this.
Well, you know what? We're comic book creators. We're used to having to pivot and make some
a lot of comebacks.
So
and there's always more of us. So
that's right. Yeah, the first comeback is going to have to be getting the tech to work. So while I'm waiting for John to figure this out, I put that call out to see some creators that are in that resonated with it. Colin, you're one of them who you're like, you know what? Yeah, I'm sort of in the same boat. You want to just share a little bit about your history on Kickstarter and what caused you to take some time away and
absolutely.
Yeah.
So I launched my first book back in 2019 on Kickstarter. It's called By the Time I Get to Dallas. It's a medical apocalyptic adventure. And it's conceived as a 6-issue series, which also includes a backup book, a prequel that goes out with each book. So it's actually 2 books each installment. And so I've been doing this since 2019. We've put out the first 4 installments, 5 total launches, because one of them was like a make 100 deal. So 630 or so unique backers. We've raised about $43,000 across those. And could not have gotten these books out to people all over the world without Kickstarter. But after 4 cycles of create, launch, fulfill, ship, I was really burning out with that, and I just wanted to get the story done, which is the whole point. The whole point is not to win Kickstarter. The point is to get your art done. So I realized, like, I just need to finish the book. I need to finish the story, do it all, and then worry about Kickstarter. So it's not that I went away. I just haven't been kickstarting. So scripting the last 120 or so pages and getting it to the artists, like sort of as we speak. And then I realized I'm going to have to actually launch this again and figure out how I want to do that. Serial launches as you get towards the end of a series, is tricky. Want to stick the landing, but also be energized and not just burn out with multiple launches. So you did this at the perfect time, and you made me make a pre-launch page, which, now I've kind of put it out there. Now I have to finish the book because I put that out there today. So
Yeah, absolutely. And so just in case anyone is new to Colin, his day job is as a ER doctor. So when you can sort of understand, the creative side can be a release for something like that, I'm sure. But when the stress of the launching and the building and the crowdfunding and all of the logistics, I'm sure stress upon stress upon stress, some taking some time away from that can definitely be something that makes a lot of sense. But I'm glad you're here, Colin. I'm glad we're going to talk about this, because I know there's a lot of people that are excited about this series that you've been working on for a while. It comes to a close, and
thank you.
So I'm excited to see that. Also, coming back to Kickstarter after a bit of a hiatus, but not one that I think you've been actually doing a lot of really cool things with it now that you have the book in hand, is Matt Schofield. Matt, share a little bit about you and your work.
Yeah, I did my first campaign last year in May, and it was more successful than I could have imagined. It was 1,100% funded, which was great. So in the time since, I've been, I set up my pre-launch page for issue 2 very soon after fulfilling the last campaign. But I've kind of gotten bogged down in all the stuff, as you were talking about earlier. There's so much preparation to do to get the campaign ready to launch. In my first campaign, like, my campaign video was quite elaborate. Like, I did a little animated piece at the beginning, and then I did like a location shoot. Like, I found a real steamroller near where I lived, and I went and shot a little thing in front of the steamroller. And I also printed a proof copy. Like, my comic has been online since 2018, so this was just to print the first issue, but I had all the material ready to go. So I was able to print a proof copy, and I've filmed myself thumbing through that and stuff. So I want to do the same thing for the second campaign, do another video. I was thinking of doing a different piece of animation. So, but I've just gotten kind of bogged down in that. And I've heard, I listened to a bunch of comic podcasts and comic making podcasts, and a person on one of these podcasts happened to just make the comment of, like, what's with all these people setting up pre-launch pages on Kickstarter and then never launching their book. And I was like, is he talking about me?
You felt seen immediately.
Because
Yeah.
I really felt like, oh, that's me, so even though it hasn't been a super long time and I haven't just been doing nothing, but I am concerned that just the amount of time that it takes to get all this stuff done is going to perhaps my comic fades from memory, sort of,
Yeah.
I'm definitely not going to be striking while the iron's hot with my second campaign,
Yeah. And one thing I will share, just if we have anybody that's tuning in because they've been away from the Kickstarter platform for a long time, one of the somewhat recent developments, like within the last half a year or so, is that Kickstarter did divorce having to get your project approved from the ability to have a pre-launch page, meaning and so that probably did result in an explosion of pre-launch pages, because it's like you no longer have to have your page good enough to potentially pass a manual review before it gets approved so that you can go to pre-launch. You can actually have a page with nothing in it but your absolute basics, and then hit the pre-launch page to push that live. So but that is something that we encourage. I'd encourage people to do earlier rather than later, because I think what a lot of folks are finding now with their launches is pre-launch is kind of more important than ever in terms of just making sure that the campaign gets out to a good start and doesn't get buried. But thanks for giving us some context there, Matt. What's cool about this panel and putting the word out is that we kind of have a cross section of creators who are sort of at different stages of this comeback mentality. In Andrew Clemson, we have a creator who literally is in the middle of a comeback right now. Awesome project that is live called Bet Noir, the collected edition. And so this was your comeback project, but can you give us a little bit of your Kickstarter history, Andrew?
I think I've been going since about 2016 or something like that. I did my first book, which is called Star Bastard, which is like a sort of sci-fi parody thing back then. And then I did a bunch of that. Did a book called Damsel from Distress, which was really successful on Kickstarter. And then this one, which I've serialized everything and then gone to like a collected format. But I've always used Kickstarter as a sort of distribution method instead of a funding method, if that makes any sense. Because I've sort of been based, I was working in the Middle East for a long time, and now sort of, deep in the countryside of the UK. So both of those is not great for sort of getting out and networking and selling and things like that. So I've always, I've put the thing on there to try and get it in front of people before I've tried to fund it. But I started that with Scout, so we took that one off the platform and gave it to them. Damsel was the most successful thing I did, and we were going to do a campaign for that for a collected edition as well, and that's pretty much when I sort of stopped Kickstartering and stuff, was because we had the collected edition ready, and then it picked up publisher, and we pulled the collected edition of that off. So about 2 years ago, I think I had the last Bet Noir, and then just from doing license work and just various life, I just never got around to sort of finishing Bet Noir in there. And I realized a couple of months ago that I've just had the whole thing finished for about 18 months, and it's just sitting there, and I should just get it on and get a campaign going.
Yeah. Well, I will say the page looks fantastic. I love your project image, and the comic definitely looks outstanding. So I'm glad that you finally are bringing it out into the world.
Yeah, that looks totally killer, dude. It looks awesome.
Yeah, this looks like
Thanks.
a good one.
I mean, it's tricky because it's a superhero book as well, so it's kind of like the opposite of what we tell people to do, isn't it? It's a difficult sell by any stretch of the imagination, but it's doing well. It's, you know, coming to the third day and it's 60% or something. So I think within 30 days we'll be doing all right.
Right. Awesome. And yeah, and we'll get into more of sort of like the approach to the comeback as well in a minute. But I also want to jump over to Jason McNamara, because so Jason is sort of on the other side of the comeback, and having he just wrapped up a bit of a comeback launch last month, I believe, and but is firing on all cylinders and already has the pre-launch page for the follow-up. But tell us a little bit about your Kickstarter history, Jason, and what made you have to take some time away.
I've been kickstarting comic books since 2014. I specifically remember going to what the Comics Tribe page was at the time and mooching some marketing ideas off of you, Tyler.
Nice.
Yeah. So I was considered Kickstarter to be my publisher. I did about 10 campaigns. They all went really smoothly. I had a good relationship with the people at Kickstarter. I was beta testing features for them. Occasionally they would just, you know, we would have a meeting and just talk about what we could do to make the comics platform better. I really felt like they were my publisher, and my audience was averaging about 300 backers per campaign, around 10 grand a campaign. I think we did about 65 grand in this 4 or 5 year stretch. Slow and steady, things were going great. And then I broke my own rule, which is I kickstarted a book that wasn't finished. It was about a quarter finished. I needed the funds to pay the artist to make the book. And things were going so well that I just took a chance and did it. And of course, it blew up in my face. The artist disappeared. And then I had to fund the rest of the book at work for hire rates. And in that time, the price of paper had gone up, the price of shipping had gone up. So it took me a couple of years to get that book out the door. And I didn't want to go anywhere near Kickstarter until I had a bulletproof campaign, a book that was fully done, fully ready to go to the printers, like nothing could go wrong. It was more important for me to repair my reputation at that point, to put a quality product in front of people, to remind people of my work, but also like a small, achievable campaign, like a 24-page comic as opposed to a big graphic novel. You can't come back after a couple of years and ask for 15, 20 grand. The audience just isn't going to be there.
Yeah. So that's definitely an interesting approach and a way to go about it. And yeah, it's kind of I have a feeling we're going to unearth a whole bunch of interesting cans of worms and and turn over a bunch of rocks, because, you know, that there is that, just as you felt like, you know, from an integrity standpoint, from a, you know, this, I have to do what's right standpoint, you know, it's like, this project, I cannot, like, I will hit the pause button on all things Kickstarter until I fulfill this project. And then at the same time, you know, if anybody reads Kevin Laporte's Comics Crowd Substack, where he reports on like literally every project that launches, every comic project that launches on Kickstarter, he is, you know, not shy about mentioning certain publishers that literally have 14 to 20 open campaigns at any given moment. And it's sort of like, you know, that it's that does cause some like reevaluation of like whether it's true that the audience won't support projects when you have them open. Maybe that's not the case, but I totally understand from a personal integrity and not wanting to, like, you know, double down on issues, you know, always wanting to fulfill the last one before launching the next one, Jason. But yeah. All right. So unfortunately, it looks like John was not able to reconnect. And so hopefully maybe he'll be able to join us a little bit later. But I want to, before we dive into sort of like some specific strategies for relaunching and coming back or coming back to Kickstarter, like, what does it feel like to approach the return after a significant time away? Fears, concerns, worries. Maybe start with Colin, but then, you know, anybody else that wants to piggyback, go ahead.
So thanks to you, Tyler. I had my first Kickstarter sleepless night in about 2 years. The moment you invited me to do this, like literally, I haven't thought about Kickstarter in a while. I've just been focused on the book, and then this came up, and I woke up at 3 o'clock in the morning a few nights ago, head racing about, oh Christ, I got to do this, that, the other thing. Got to design my pre-launch. Like it just like, you just go down the rabbit hole. So thanks. I appreciate it. So no PTSD at all. And the thing is, I've had a great experience with every Kickstarter, but it's just a lot of work. So apprehension, but so the thing that has helped me, I found this week is that, so I've got 2 more installments of this project to do. So I know that the right answer sort of Kickstarter business wise is that you do serial launches. You do launches to build audience for next launches. I've got 2 more books. I should do 2 more launches. I'm not going to do that. I that was going to be my question for the group this week, but I answered it because that night I decided, no, I'm doing 5 and 6 together. I'm launching 5 and 6 together. And then I fell asleep. So I know what the answer is. The answer for me is that I can get a lot more excited about launching for the finish of my series, the finale, than I can for book 5 and then book 6 with, with another fulfillment in between. So even though it may not be the best answer for audience building, like it's the right answer for where my energy is. So that is the key, I think, for Kickstarter and doing this comic in general is that, and this is probably advice I got from you because everything I think I spout out is probably repeated from one of your previous things, but like find where your energy is. And if it's a energy suck, like find a way to get away from it and just focus on the stuff that you want to do. And Kickstarter will take all the energy that there is. It will expand to take all the space you give it. And so finding a way to make this happen and keep your eye on what is important to you is what I'm trying to stay focused on.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So Andrew, what about you? What were some of the things that you maybe were concerned about, or just feelings that come around from like, oh, it's been a while since I got on this this Bronco or gave it a ride.
I just I'm not a fan of social media in general, like putting myself out there. I don't post a lot of stuff. I'm quite bad at marketing and promoting myself. So Kickstarter is kind of my worst case scenario because you have to, you're forced to go out there and sort of promote yourself and things like that. So a lot of it is just thinking about that, looking at how things are doing and gauging how well a certain project has done and how other people's projects are doing at the time, and just thinking, am I asking for trouble launching at this point in time? I had a sort of post-pandemic, all of the campaigns were going up and up and up and up, and everything was funding. And like Damsel, we had 1,000 backers on each campaign and things like that, and did really well. But then Bête Noire specifically is, because it's a superhero book, it just doesn't do as well. So for me, it was kind of like just waiting and thinking, is this the right time to do this? And, combined with other things and other places my mind needed to be. So it was just sort of putting it off. Like I could do it now, but then I'm going to be sort of preoccupied for 30 days and I've got this thing coming up. So, and that would roll over month on month and month and month. So it just got to the point where I was like, well, if I don't do it now, I'll probably won't do it for another 6 months. And then I probably won't do it for another 12 months. So it's just sort of forcing myself into it, really.
Yeah. Yeah. And, Jason, you, one of the strategies I think you took was like, all right, I'm going to go with something smaller and sort of reintroduce myself with something that's contained, that's something that I know I can get out there. Did you have concerns? We've got Bitsy in the tuning in. She's been away from the platform for 3+ years after having a bunch of really good campaigns and great launching and a lot of momentum there. Were you concerned about bringing the fans back, if that Kickstarter list would have gone dead, or what were you feeling?
I was petrified. I'm still petrified. I felt like Steve Buscemi in that meme where he goes back to high school and he's like, "Hello, fellow high schoolers." Things change so much technology changes so much, the platform has changed so much that when I came back, I just felt like, is anyone going to remember me? Is this going to be, am I going to embarrass myself? And also, I'm trying to find like a slow news cycle, just like impossible. And I feel like almost embarrassed to pass the hat around when so many bad things are going on in the world. Like, hey, yeah, that's awful. 16, Girl Scouts fell into a wood chipper, but I made a comic book. So yeah, it was petrifying. Firing up the mailing list. It's almost like cold calling an ex. It's just, I really had to talk myself into it. It really, as confident as I am in the work, introducing the work to an audience after being away for so long. Yeah, it was really, really daunting. I was really afraid to just embarrass myself. Will anyone care? And I've seen so many other people come into the platform and have great success, and I'm happy for them. I want Kickstarter to be a thriving publishing platform, but you sort of think like, have I missed this step? So yeah, absolutely. So I wanted to have like a soft launch, like a really simple project, engage, re-familiarize myself with the platform, with the audience, even just the surveys, even like the backer report is a little bit different. I feel like I missed a couple of updates on Windows where I'm like, where is everything? So something simple where you can find your feet, something really achievable, like just a simple issue was the way to go. I'm really glad I did it this way. And we're doing like all done in one stories. And I sort of feel my feeling as someone who supports Kickstarters is I'm less likely to support a Kickstarter if it's like a mini series, because so many don't finish, right? So I think as an audience member, if you can tell people like every issue is a done in one, every issue is going to be a success. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I'll buy I'm a trade waiter. I'll buy your trades. All your trades, I'm good.
Yeah, you're not going to get away with with at least coming back for a trade launch too, Colin. So
never heard that before. Oh yeah.
But I made the people happy. So 111 people. I think I knew half of those names, but all of them are getting their book this week. They all got their digital rewards. It was like bulletproof. I just want them all to be really happy with the campaign and how I treated them. That to me is critical, and then I can build from there.
Yeah, I love that. And Matthew, any other things or concerns? I mean, a year for if it's all about sort of what the goal was going in or expectations. For some, a year is like, oh yeah, there are creators that are happily launching one campaign per year, but we also have creators now that are launching multiple campaigns each month. So it is all relative. But what was coming up for you as you sort of get ready to get back on that horse?
Well, I very much relate to what Colin was saying about sort of being torn between, you've only got a certain amount of time when you're doing it outside of your day job and working around your family commitments and whatever else may be going on in real life. But when you've only got a certain amount of time each day and you're working like Colin is and like I am on a continuing story, I'm currently writing my 4th issue right now. But I'm always torn between, okay, in the 2 hours that I have to work on comic stuff today, do I work on Kickstarter stuff or do I work on getting my actual story finished, which is, like I'm not getting any younger. So I do feel the kind of weight of it takes me so long to just get my stuff done because I'm doing everything on my comic. I'm writing, drawing, lettering, everything. So I'm sort of torn between balancing my time between Kickstarter campaign prep and getting further ahead with the rest of the comic. It's all sort of connected because I publish my comic online first, and I do it every time I finish a page, I put it online, and then I blitz out to social media. Hey, there's a new page up for Steamroller Man. So that kind of helps to slowly build my following. So I don't want to stop doing that completely, but it's almost like the wheels of either end of that spectrum have slowed down because I can't focus solely on one thing or the other without it being at the expense of the other, I should say. So that's my real worry. It's not a worry. It's just, I mean, it's just part of the bargain of being a comic creator in your spare time. And I think there's also that sort of keeping up with the Joneses factor, having been in ComixLaunch with some absolute like power creators who are like, oh, I'm launching 3 books this year, you know, that kind of thing. And you can't help but think like, how do I get from where I am now to where they are, however far in the future for me that would be. So
yeah. Launch envy can definitely be a thing. Tony had a question. He said, after not launching for so long, what are the new hot rewards for pledgers? And I think something that Jason said was that while he may not have been launching on Kickstarter, he was still backing projects, right? Mm-hmm. And so I'm curious, like, do you feel that, you know, that at least has been a way to still be a part of the Kickstarter community, even if you're not there with your own stuff, or did you really take a step completely away from it? And now it's like, all right, I'm rediscovering everything.
Backing Kickstarter projects is sort of like gambling. Like it tickles like a dopamine reaction in your brain. So yeah, I'm still always gonna be like devouring independent comics. And I'm definitely a marvel at what some other people have done as far as rewards. For my return campaign, kept it very simple. Just like a $10 reward, a $20, and a $30 reward, and that's it. And I didn't have a bunch of extra stretch goals. I didn't want to get unwieldy or out of control. I really wanted to keep it as simple as possible so I could deliver the rewards as quick as possible and get it in their hands. For the next one, we can do other stuff. We can do sketches in the books. But for this one, I really just wanted to see where the audience was and how they felt about me and the work. So mine was pretty free of a lot of bells and whistles.
Yeah, it's interesting that I'm hearing this. This seems to be a theme that makes a lot of sense for people coming back to Kickstarter. I mean, we heard it with Colin saying, you know what, rather than two launches, I am coming back. It's been a while, but when I come back, it's going to be for the rest of the story. I'm going to do one launch. It's going to be a double issue launch. That's a way to sort of simplify and recalibrate. I'm curious. Then at the same time, you know, for someone that's in Matt's shoes, for example, you've got your sophomore launch. So I know there's probably this feeling is like, oh well, the first launch went so well. Gotta level things up. Gotta take it to the next level. Yep. Is that what you're sort of feeling a little bit, or where are you at with the goal setting on that, Matt?
My goal for the next campaign, hopefully, is I'm going to set the goal at the same amount. Like I purposely had a very easily achievable goal for my first campaign. It was only $750 because I took the advice that you gave in the course, Tyler, which is put some skin in the game and reduce that amount as low as you can possibly do it to increase your chances of success. And that worked. Like I funded on the first day, like I reached $750. So everything beyond that was just kind of trying to keep the hype train going and figuring out stretch goals and all that sort of stuff. So for my second campaign, I'm going to keep the goal the same, but ideally I would like to have the final amount higher, a bigger number of backers, hopefully, and also more mailing list additions, because that was one thing that really surprised and delighted me with my first campaign. Was about half the backers said yes, they would like to join my mailing list, and my mailing list almost, pretty much doubled as a result of that first campaign. So I'd like to kind of achieve something similar on that. I I'm doing more like more variant covers. I'm trying to work out how to do like one of those acetate covers where it's like a clear plastic, but it's like an animation cell
Oh yeah, the
on the front,
lenticulars.
and then
Yep.
yeah. So
I've got a hookup I can share with you if you if you need a contact. My
yeah,
yeah,
I'm open to any and all tips.
Absolutely.
But yeah, so I'm sort of I want to make some more different stretch goals, cooler things like patches or little plastic standees or something like that. So yeah, I just want to sort of level it up in terms of the fun factor and the coolness factor for the backers on the second campaign. That's my goal. Yeah.
Yeah. And what about you, Andrew? What was your approach coming back after a couple of years for this collected edition for Bet Noir? Did you feel like you were all right? I've got to throw everything at this launch to make a big splash coming back, or rather the other way is like, let's keep it simple, go back to basics.
I much prefer to do as little as possible in terms of rewards and things like that. That is easier for the earlier issues, because what I've always done, which was a thing I picked up from you quite early, was the target on even if I've written the whole thing and done the whole thing, the target on a whole thing is quite high, and it's a lot to ask for someone it's coming into something new. So to begin with, you can say, right, I've got issue 1 and I've got a variant. That's all we're going to do. We push it out. And then after 5-6 issues, you've got, probably 15 or 16 different comics people could pick up, plus the collected edition. So I really wanted to do this one, which was just a trade paperback, and the issue 6, because issue 6 is new as well. That's we never did a campaign for that. But then I was, Matt, who I work with, he's editing this. He was just like, you'd be stupid to not do a hardcover as well, and you'd be stupid to not have all these add-ons on the thing. And I put a bit more into it, that you can pick up some of the back issues and things like that. But I just worry that with everything that changes in terms of shipping and print costs and things like that, the more factors there are that could change, the more my maths could go wrong. So I've really tried to keep it as digital in terms of bonus stuff, and then just have sort of the trade issue 6 and a hardcover, and then just bundle those things together. So there's probably things people couldn't get, but I'm not having to print off another 3 issues of one variant and 2 of another and things like that. So I just like, that's my main approach, was just to keep it as straightforward as possible. Because like Jason was saying, I haven't been on there in 2 years, and it feels like it's a completely different ecosystem. Like people have to message and say, what does this button do? And there's a little box you have to click to say I've paid all my tax on this and all this kind of stuff. It's a completely different thing. And I just kind of want to, I've got a bunch of projects lined up which I can put on as soon as this one's done. But I kind of want to, this is the most straightforward thing. It's got an existing reader base. Everyone knows what it is. I can show everyone what, it's a proven thing. Get this one out there, relearn how the thing works, and see what it's like shipping to parts of the world, see what it's like getting books in and out of the States at this point in time, and then learn from that and move on to another one that's less of a sure thing for something else in the future.
Yeah. So that, I think there's another comeback tip just for those tuning in is if you have a choice about what to jump back with, going with something that there's at least some audience, you have a list of, you've got customers, you've got people that have enjoyed it, and how to sell it, how to pitch it. That can be a way to go as well if you're choosing between projects. So I'm sad that that John was unable to connect and broadcast and chat with us. He's, in addition to just life and pauses on projects. He went through some personal health stuff. And so, one of those things was it did seem like one thing after another was hitting him, but he's sort of on the march back. Still doesn't have a pre-launch page set up yet for anything new, but has a good track record. But it has been several years since he's been on the platform, and so I'm just curious, like, what are some of the steps that anyone should take when they're getting ready to get their feet wet back in here? Like, I mean, let's just kind of round table it. I mean, Jason, like, if you were to coach yourself or coach someone that's in John's shoes, what are a couple of sort of first steps in the right direction would be?
I would back 5 campaigns and just listen to how they message their people and how they talk to people and what kind of questions they ask. Your audience asks. With Phantom Limbs, right? They're all done in one stories. I've said that like 10 times. I think I have it 10 times on the page. My wife's like, why do you keep repeating that? Very first question I got in the campaign. Is this a self-contained story? You can't say things enough. Like, I hate social media as much as everyone else in this call. Yeah. But you just have to keep saying the same thing over and over again. And don't think that people saw your post. Don't think people saw your message. Don't assume people read your newsletter, right? Don't look at the open rates on those. Are heartbreaking. So I would follow other campaigns, and I would just think, what is the simplest thing that I can do to prove to people that I'm a reliable creator, and that something has a good snapshot of your voice, but that you can succeed, that you can over deliver on. And then people will feel warmly about you, and they'll keep coming back. For the past 10 years, I've seen the same names coming back for all these different projects, whether it's like horror or YA. People aren't supporting the book. They want to support you. So just show them it's safe to support you, that you're going to be here. And don't come back to the Kickstarter until you can stay back, is another thing. This project has been done for like almost a year. But like, I'm a human being. I move. I have energy levels that wane. I didn't want to come back to Kickstarter until I knew I could stay here in Kickstarter and be a presence, because people do forget about you, and people do have short memories, especially with comics.
Yeah. George O'Connor wrote, as marketing copywriter, no one reads. Keep hitting the main points. Drive them into the ground. There are some things Kickstarter does not make easy. Add-ons are still kind of a nightmare for a lot of backers, especially backers that like maybe grab a limited reward or an early backer reward and then are worried about losing that if they go and, to get their add-ons, and there's some weird clicks that they have to do. And I've tried to like, step by step along with a video to walk people through. And even then it can be tough. But one thing that you mentioned about FAQs, Kickstarter, I don't. A lot of projects don't use it. It looks like Andrew doesn't have any yet for his, but they do let you set up your FAQs in advance of your project. And a little just power pro tip for people using FAQs: do not use your FAQs simply to imagine what questions people might want to know about your project. What I want you to do instead is think of all the reasons or objections people might not want to back your project, turn those into a question, and then answer the question designed to overcome those objections. So, is this what's one reason that the people might not? Well, I don't want to, I want a self-contained story. I'm not signing up for a minute. It's like, whether it is or it isn't, calling out, hey, this is a complete, beginning to end, whether this is the first issue or not. I grew up on the, sometimes where you pick up a comic from a flea market or the newsstand, and it's right in the middle of an arc, but it was designed to be told like that. So do that objection, and just think about, what are all the reasons people might not want to back or might object to backing or supporting you. And that's a really good exercise to getting you ready to like get out there and passionately promote your stuff. And that also creates good content for your Kickstarter page. Colin, any thoughts about just, getting back on the horse here?
I think my biggest concern is I just don't understand how to find new audience anymore. Facebook is such a different place than it was a couple years ago. So, I mean, I feel like I can talk to my backers through my newsletters and Kickstarter updates, and I feel like there's still people that want the end of my story. Like I know that they're there. So I'm not worried about that. But to build, the things that I've mostly done on my last campaign or two that I really focused on was cross promotion. I just found that to be the stickiest thing. Where finding like-minded creators and really doing like deep dive cross promotion where it's clear that like we read each other's books and like we respect each other and we find audience that that we have in common. So I feel like I know how to do that, but other than that, like I mean, I haven't done a Facebook ad in a couple campaigns. I did all this stuff on like Instagram and cross posting and scheduling posts, and I've done all that. And then the last campaign I didn't do any of it because it just was too annoying and I wasn't convinced it was really getting me anywhere. So I don't really know, other than the Kickstarter ecosystem itself, how or even if I should look for more audience or just focus there. And then I will do a trade after this, and then that's going to be the time where it's full court press, anything I can do to make that, the hardcover, the thing that I actually have a victory lap with. So yeah, just knowing how to build audience. I don't know how to do that anymore, I think.
Yeah. Well, I think, and I'm curious that anybody else sort of feeling that way as well. Andrew, you were sort of working with publishers, which presumably they take over some of that, but most publishers actually want you still on the audience driving side of things. But yeah, there is a sense of not even sure which platforms are going to actually drive any traffic here in 2025 on the one hand, and on the other hand, it's like have things really changed that much? Questionable.
Yeah, I mean, I've never done a Facebook ad. I don't think it's just so daunting to get into it, and then I don't know. I've sort of gotten by without it. So now looking at it, shall I do it now? I don't even know if it's going to work. Whether now's the time to sort of dip my toe into that water, and all of the stuff, has. I think you were saying there, Colin. Like since last time social media has changed entirely. Platforms bought and sold and all this kind of stuff. So, I used to market a lot on Twitter, that I don't even go on anymore. I've tried sort of promoting stuff on Blue Sky. I don't know if that's, a sales market. So I don't know if there is a sort of social media where you can promote these things successfully anymore. So I think I've obviously the benefit of doing it over a number of years. Because I think I did issue one of this in 2019, and it was leapfrogging campaigns and series and things like that. I've been able to take it to conventions and sell it there, and then you mentioned to people, if you keep an eye out, we'll do another one. It'll go on Kickstarter and things like that. So I think that again, I think that'll work more in the States, where you guys seem to have a convention every other day. I think in most cities.
I think convention season is now the official longest season of the year in America. But
yeah,
yes,
but that's good for like pushing it. Get out and sort of get readership that way, and get eyes on campaign that way. You can stick QR codes on business cards and things. And
yeah, definitely options there. And so for audience building, again, it's a code that seems to crack, and I do know even some of the biggest Kickstarter campaigns, like and most successful creators, are sort of seeing some drop off in terms of backers right now, and so the best that I can tell is find out like the best marketing is the marketing that you'll actually do. So figure out what your going to do, where you're going to show up, what commitments you can follow. I think it's still 2025, same as it was in 2015, and even before that. Your email list is still going to be your number one business asset. So nurturing that email list. And then one thing that I think is pretty cool, especially for creators that are writing, on Substack and using that as an email newsletter, is the Substack Notes platform is actually one of the few platforms where you can actually post stuff. It'll get in front of most of the people that are on your list, and it will get pushed out to people that aren't following you, and you will pick up you'll pick up people following on that. So what I would recommend creators do, if you've got a weekly email list, or you do a weekly email, but be active daily, 2 or 3 or 4 times a day, kind of like you might have done Twitter back in the day, where you're interacting with other people's notes, and you are also, driving people to past things that you've written using their notes feature. And I would take a crack at something like that, just simply because that's still a platform that is not in the sort of algorithmic, where the algorithm's going to control how a very small percentage of your people seeing it, and oh, by the way, want to run ads for it on here for it. So that would be just one little tip or something that I would recommend for folks that are posting on Substack. Because
Tyler, do you find that there's reasonable conversion between Substack and Kickstarter? Because Substack's the only place I like to post anymore. I agree. It actually still feels like a real thing. But I feel like it's a lot of other writers. It's a lot of, folks like, all of us here, which is awesome. And that maybe that's all I need is an audience, but it's hard to figure out, like, does it card over to Kickstarter? I'm wondering if you've experienced that.
Yeah. So, I mean, like it's tough to like for someone in my position, and and you've been at it for a while now, too, Colin. You probably have a lot of overlap on your lists, right? Yeah. So like you've got your past Kickstarter backers list, and you've got your backer kit launch potential list if you want to use that tool. You've got your your Substack list, and so. And a lot of times, if you're sort of playing the pre-launch games, is you're driving people first and foremost to that Kickstarter pre-launch page list. Hit that notify me, and that is probably the best predictor of what your launch day is going to look like. Is, hey, how many people was I able to get on that pre-launch list? But it's sort of like Kickstarter is going to take credit for every single one of those backers. They're going to show up as a pre-launch backer, but how did they get there? Well, they might have saw your Substack, or they might have got connected there. So, getting like absolute, full accuracy of what the dollar amount for each of these, it's still a little tough to figure out exactly, but kind of the more places that people are connected to you, the more likely it is that they're going to actually come and back you. So that's kind of how I look at it. So like Matt, any ideas for just like some things that you're going to do, maybe that you didn't do the first time around, or that things that you want to do to make your return to the platform just really pop?
Well, I'll echo what Colin said about Substack. I switched my email newsletter sender program from, I was using Brevo. I switched to Substack about 6 months ago, and just all the different features and tools on Substack that they have about, like, people can refer and recommend your email list to their subscribers, and I'm like Colin, I don't post that much on Blue Sky or Facebook anymore. I post most of the time now on Substack, and my email list has grown by like 2/3 since I joined Substack. So, and I think most of that is just from, I send out a weekly email but then I'm also like sending out notes and stuff whenever I get, have something to say or show. And yeah, it just sort of has organically grown. So as far as the next campaign, I'm not sort of trying to reinvent the wheel or anything. I'm just trying to, I've been doing a lot of conventions since I got the print copies from the first campaign, now that I actually have some stuff to sell. And when, people aren't always going to buy stuff at the convention, but they're usually willing to put their email address on the sign-up sheet to just become part of your mailing list. So I've been trying to sort of just spread the word, because I did print a little postcard that said, like, with the cover of issue 2 and the QR code on the back that goes to the pre-launch page. So just trying to build up my pre-launch follower count in the time while I'm getting the campaign together. Yeah, it's just going to be a new selection of variant covers. One thing I am doing that's different is I've switched from making my comic all digitally to I'm now producing actual inked physical pages, and I'm going to offer some inked pages as like the high-end rewards on my next campaign, which I didn't have that last campaign because it was just all digital. So I'm actually adding some bonus pages to top out the page count so that it's divisible by 4 for print to issue 2. And I'm doing those pages on paper. So then I'll offer those as the high tier rewards, as well as, sketch cover commissions and all that sort of stuff, which I offered on my last campaign as well. And those were moderately successful.
Yeah. And obviously, as you have art hanging up on your wall, there's definitely a market for that kind of stuff. So
yeah. I love original comic art. So it's going to be fun to offer some of my own original comic art to people. So yeah.
Tony asked, does the pre-launch page allow video uploads now? And so yes and no. If people haven't built a pre-launch page for a while on Kickstarter, it's going to pull your project image and your title and your subtitle from the basics section, but then it will give you a more about this project section here. And there you can add images, you can upload YouTube videos, etc., and sort of put a whole page there, and then that will show up when you go and view your page. So that'll show up down here. So yes, you can, but it will not be your main project image. It's still set up so that your main project image will only show up once your Kickstarter campaign is live. So just a little heads up there, as this page is just getting started there. So yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot there. What are some other sort of areas about, we talked a lot about sort of pre-launch and the lead up. Curious, like, running the actual campaign, is there anything that comes to mind from anybody that is like, okay, it's been a while since I've done this, like how am I doing on the day-to-day, like where are you guys thinking there?
I'm definitely going to plan out my stretch goals ahead of time, which I didn't do the first time because I was not super confident that I'd even make the goal. So I really just had some nebulous ideas the first time of like, oh yeah, I could do stickers and I could do this and that. And then when it actually met the goal on the first day, I was like, oh, well, I better do some stretch goals. And so then I had to make like graphics for the page to introduce the next stretch goal and all that sort of stuff. I was doing all that on the fly. Every time it would hit the next stretch goal, I would spend the next 2 hours like, oh, I got to make a new graphic for the next level and stuff. So I want to try and get all that like prepared just in case for the next campaign. So I'm not kind of in a constant state of trying to run on the log in the water and not fall off into the water.
Starting to sweat just hearing this. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, I definitely had to include both the milestone bonus planner and the stretch goal strategy planner, just for hopefully reminders of some things to think about in the ComixLaunch planner. So hopefully that will help just give you a space to jot some ideas down as well. Yeah, and then I think some of the other things and techniques and strategies that I love that I've seen ComixLaunch pros use is strategies like Ryan Clater is really good at this, about just like saying, hey, when I'm going to launch, I'm going to be launching and it's going to be a set number of days. Maybe it's 18, maybe it's 20, maybe it's 30, but let me see if I can just find a way to book some thing that I will do that will get in front of some audience for every single day. That might be jumping on with another creator and doing a crossover live stream on a social media platform of your choice. It might be writing a guest post and trying to get it on a popular comic news blog. It might be, trying to get a local news story or coverage. It might be going on a podcast. It might be just, jumping in a Facebook group and doing a Ask Me Anything. Travis Gibb in a half an hour is doing one of his sort of Kickstarter creator crossover. Let's see if we can get some pledges going. But just treating it your campaign as hey, it's a platform where I can just plot out some specific stops each and every day. Give me something to do, something to look forward to, something that I can focus on that isn't just hitting refresh and hoping that people are tuning in. Yeah, that is definitely something that is the case.
I would also just think of the Kickstarter as you could put fresh content in front of the current audience that you have. So you were talking about doing the stretch goals in advance, but I would also I've also interviewed the other creators or had them interview each other. So then I've just got like content in the middle of the campaign. So during the slower days, it doesn't look like a Spirit Halloween store about to happen.
Right.
It looks like a living thing. I also teach comics at PNCA. So I'll take some of my curriculum, some of the essays I've written, and I'll plop them in as content for the Kickstarter. Or I'll repurpose something from my mailing list and I'll put that in there, or like a personal essay about why I love comics or why I love the Twilight Zone.
So you put that in your updates to the backers, or
yeah, but I make it open to the public, so if anyone comes along, it looks like a living campaign. You don't want it to look like this is like a dead zone. And then people also get a flavor for you and what you're like, and that would also.
That's a really good idea.
Yeah, and you have all this already, probably.
Right.
Yeah.
One of the things that I have doing the last few campaigns is something I called like a all-star bundle, where I've never used stretch goals because I don't know, it's too stressful, but I called it milestone/stretch goals. And basically it's based on backer count, and every certain number of backers, you're going to get a new indie comic added to a PDF download that every backer gets, when we fund. And then I have my favorite comic book creators out there that I line up ahead of time, and I know what books I'm going to get from them. And then you get to talk about someone else's comic throughout your campaign, which feels so good because you're so done with talking about yourself, right? But I can get super excited about like Tim Larson's on here, and he's been one of my partners for this. Like, I'm happy to talk about his like motorcycle gang comic because it has nothing to do with mine. that's one of my favorite, even though it's still a lot of work because then you're like managing other people and all this stuff. But like I get really excited for that. And it keeps things fresh because you get to be like, oh, hey, today I'm going to talk about, this comic book by Honor Vincent that takes place in like the ancient Roman Empire. It has nothing to do with by the time I get to Dallas. And then 4 days later, Dave Taylor's like noir thriller. Like, that's awesome. So anything that gets you excited to talk for 21 days straight is helpful.
Yeah, and also when you're doing stuff like that, one of the when you're on any social media platform, one of the things that always boosts reach is by mentioning and tagging other people in it authentically, right? So the ability to like say, hey, this today one of the books in the bundle is from @Tim Larson. It's included in this, and you're including 3 or 4 other creators that are involved in that awesome book bundle on social. That probably gets more reach on that platform. Chances that it gets amplified by other creators and gets in front of some people that you might not otherwise reach. So that's a good way when you can sort of use your campaign as a platform and a vehicle to introduce other people's stuff, and again curate good stuff from other creators. It's going to always reflect well on you. Let's see. Arpunk says we use tabling at local farmers markets and a couple of medium-sized conventions this past month to treat the campaign as an event. It blew me away how it made the campaign. It's
That's very cool.
It makes it sort of like saying you're taking this on the road, you're on tour. It sort of it's another example of skin in the game that got brought up earlier of just you're out there, you're believing this thing, you're putting pounding the pavement, pressing the flesh, and trying to put books in people's hands. It goes a long way.
I love that farmer's market idea. I've heard that a few times, and like it's never in my head to think of, but getting to be the only comic book at a place that's making a bunch of like, soap and selling kale. Like that's brilliant. That's just awesome.
Well, one of the coolest things for Colin, who I know likes mixing up a nice drink, is like a lot of craft breweries now are doing these pop-up events, sometimes little pop-up comic conventions and things like that. I know Brett Giuliano goes to a bunch in the Chicago area, and they just had one near me. And so it's kind of, it's a cool way to meet some alternate folks and get your stuff out there.
I mean, someone mentioned it just then. If you go to these things where it's not a comic focused event, and everyone's been dragged along to these events, things where you're not into it, you don't really want to be there, and if you go to something like that and you see a comic stand, bright day, you're over there and you're like, oh, I can interact with this person, I can, I'll spend my money here instead of, like you say, the soaps or whatever. And I know, smaller, more local creators that don't even use Kickstarter, and they'll do a decent turnover going to the most random events and just putting comics in front of people, and people get excited and buy it because it's the only comic there.
It may also be the cheapest thing in the room.
Yeah.
So I've done art shows where people are selling, prints or original paintings for thousands of dollars, and everyone's like, I wish I could afford that. Like here's a guy selling a $20 comic or a $5 comic. So they get to have the experience of buying something at the art show. It just wasn't original art. Right.
Yeah. We can be like the guys selling stickers at Comic-Cons, where someone's just got a little bit of money to punt at something.
Yeah. So this is a question. Bitsy said, how many days do you recommend for a comeback, a quick starter, or go long? I mean, it seems like creators are coming up with different ideas for this, but how are y'all thinking about like timing and length of Kickstarter campaigns these days?
I'm going to do just another 30-day campaign because I want to maximize the amount of time to, get as many pledges as possible. I kind of would be worried if I did a shorter than 30-day campaign, I would be leaving money on the table. I may be wrong completely wrong in that perception, but yeah.
I've always done them to basically span over 2 paydays. So if
nice. Yes.
you get paid they've got some money, and then after that they spend their money and they think, oh, I can't really get anything on this Kickstarter. But if you spread it heavily over 2 end of month paydays, or whatever most people payday is, that was my plan this time, and then I just I missed my launch date. Went on family vacation, came back and just thought, well, I need to just go now. So I haven't done that this time, but is still running for 32 days is what I normally do.
That's really clever. That's a really clever idea. I never thought of doing that.
It's worked in the past, I think.
I do the same thing. I hit 3 paydays. Some people get paid every 2 weeks. Some people get paid once a month or every week. So every campaign I do always passes 3 Fridays. So I usually do 24 days just because those middle days are ruthless.
Right.
I just feel like you could cut out the whole 80% of every campaign. So the longer I'm doing it, the more stressed out I am. And the more personally I take it on days where I make no money or days where the number drops. I'm just too sensitive to that. I can't take it. So 24 days.
Yeah, that's where I am.
Yeah, that's the most I want to be staring at.
I'm sitting in that now, like going into day 3 or day 4, and you're sort of seeing it sort of hitting the curve. So well, it's still going up, but it slows down. So that's always painful.
I know I shortened my last one just for my sanity, and I was glad I did. But I think for this one, with it being a double launch and the end of the series, I'm probably gonna make it a little longer and try to get the biggest bite out of the apple I can.
Yeah. My answer to Bitsy would probably be it depends more on the launch and the project and the experience you're looking for, more so than how long it's been since you've been on the Kickstarter platform. Although there have been some projects where it's like, okay, I might want to extend this one a little bit longer if this is a book that I really want to get out, and I want to talk to people, and I want to do the podcast thing. If I'm gonna fill up my calendar with a lot of like outreach, then I want a longer campaign. If what I'm really doing is just like, hey, I want to get my audience back out there and get and really want to get this project like out the door, but I know that I'm not gonna be trying to get on podcasts or doing events or doing all this other stuff, and it's really about getting this thing to the finish line, then I might do it a little bit shorter. It's also like what is the project itself, and what's the potential of the product to really reach a wide audience versus maybe a niche audience. So like, if there's something that's like, oh well, hey, this could go viral, or I'm going to be doing like stupid viral videos and things that maybe this could catch on, and there's a lot of like, it's more common in other categories like your tech products or your better mousetraps that like, oh, the right BuzzFeed type blog or something picks it up, and then all of a sudden you're going nuts. That might lend itself to longer campaigns. But if really you're just, hey, I'm getting this out there, I'm getting my audience do it, I want to run, I might run some ads, but I don't want it, but I want to maximize the time that or my ads while they're running, that might be a shorter campaign. That one of the challenges with Kickstarter is like every campaign is absolutely unique. So you really there is no beta testing about like any specific campaign or any specific milestones. You'll never have the ability to like know what it would be like if your campaign would go. You can only sort of compare campaign to campaign and look at some other trends from other people that have run experiments, but you'll never know exactly. But I have had some issues where like, hey, I ran a campaign that was like my most successful campaign, but it also had in it my worst week where like we just had a week where it was just like nearly dead, even though the campaign itself was the most funding we'd ever raised on anything. And that was a clear sign. It's like, oh, I could have done two things. I could have either added something really cool and new to the campaign during that dead time to get another surge, but I had already played all my cards. I was already out of stuff, out of new awesome stuff to add to it. So it really was dead. So like my takeaway from that is like, oh, well, those six of those days I could have just chopped right off and would have been right where we ended up.
I feel like a lot of it is just like also looking at your own calendar and your own life, and you know that, okay, I've got X amount of time where I don't have a lot of things going on. Like, you're going to be a better campaigner at that time than if, you know, you've spread yourself too thin and done a longer campaign, then it's just squeezing, you know, blood from a stone. So I feel like your own energy is the most important resource of the campaign. So figure out when you're going to have the most of it and build your campaign around that. You know, days of the week and all the other stuff is important too, but take care of yourself.
Yeah.
Can I ask, Tyler, do you have any thoughts or advice about the combination of coming back to Kickstarter after a long time and doing a multiple issue campaign as that comeback the way Colin is doing it? Because I've thought about doing that as well, because I do have issue 2 and issue 3 complete, but I was taking the strategy of, you know, that each campaign can build your audience and grow your audience. So I'm still thinking that's going to be the best way for me to do it. But do you have any thoughts about the pros and cons of that combination of long time away and then coming back, either to do, hey, now I'm back with 2, or what's good, what's bad? Thoughts?
Yeah. I mean, I think, as with many things, there's no morality to it. It's not. There's not a good or the bad. There's a what are you trying to optimize for, and what I think Colin is optimizing for is sort of one of those things where, like, it's Newton's laws, right? It's inertia, right? Objects in motion stay in motion, objects at rest stay at rest. The concept of, in order to finish this book that I've been working on, that's been in my head, that I've been trying to get out to the world and tell this complete story for many years now, the idea of having to do 2 entire Kickstarter launches before I get to that completion point and I put that final issue out into the world feels really heavy to Colin right now, especially after being away. Comparatively, the idea of coming back to Kickstarter and blowing their socks off with a double-sized launch that tells the rest of the story. All right, I can get outside of my comfort zone. I can get up. I know I can do that gauntlet, right? So Colin's probably leaving some audience on the table, and he's probably leaving some funding on the table from that. But I don't know that those at this point right now are what he's trying to optimize for.
Right.
In your position, Matt, you're not necessarily trying to get your Kickstarter launch completely over with. I totally understand, like, getting the balance between creating it and managing the webcomic and doing everything else there. But, like, part of your growth strategy, I'm sure, for the Steamroller Man, a brand that is ongoing, something that you presumably plan on doing for a long time. Like, I don't necessarily know that there's a tremendous amount of advantage for you for doing a double-sized launch when you're continuing to do this. So rather, like, what I would probably try to say is, what kind of launch cadence do I want for myself and my brand? Knowing that, like, hey, my webcomic people are going to be here and they get used to something. My newsletter people, they're used to hearing me from this. There are going to be some people that will only find you on Kickstarter and that will only interact and engage with you when you are on Kickstarter. So what's the cadence that I want to start establishing for that audience, and then try to hit that? And that's kind of how I look at it. You think about, like, the Marvel movies, right? Or just Marvel as a brand. Like, they have a cadence. They have 2 or 3 movies a year. That's how they interact. But they also we have our shows. They come out here. We have our comics. They come out with a cadence. So think of Kickstarter as a platform that you're going to try to have a cadence with.
That's a really good idea. Yeah. Thank you.
So, but also, like, I'm kind of the same way. Like, this year we've experimented with double-sized launches sometimes for the Sync brand. And part of that is also like, hey, we've got other projects needing to launch. I know that every launch has front end and back end time associated with it. And so, there is a little bit of a trade-off for total amount of funding for the time it takes to ramp up and ramp down at the front end and the back end of the Kickstarter campaign. So again, it's not right or wrong. It's not best or worst. It's what are we optimizing for?
Yeah, I mean, I've always
thanks.
done double issue campaigns just because I don't want to do the campaign twice, and B, with not being in the States, which is still the biggest market, you've got shipping and things like that, and there's costs involved. So it's more cost effective if you can offer people, right, you're only going to pay shipping once, but you're going to get 2 books, but it's going to be longer between campaigns, and that worked for us. Just I think it worked. It coincided with a rise in backers, so I've always done the first one to get people in, and then 2 for everything else. But it's just easier to bundle it in and get it to people. Shorter gap between books and saving on shipping.
So I have a contrary position. I want to keep my name in front of people more. I've been gone for years. I just don't want them to forget about me. So I'm looking to daisy chain it. So I think as an audience member, you're never happier with the creator than when you get something in the mail from them. So I want to put the pre-launch page for the next one this week as I open this. Because backers always say the same thing when they get a book from me. They say, I got it. Like, not like it was great, the story was fantastic. I paid for something and you sent it to me in the mail and I got it. And they're so happy. That's when you give them the pre-launch page for the next one, even if it might be months.
Right.
I just want to, for me, I want to spread it out so my name is in front of them. And I'm basically doing a graphic novel in like 4 parts. This way I'm not warming up that audience every year from scratch is kind of how it felt. Right. And then I can parlay, once I've built that audience up and they trust me and they know I can deliver, I can then maybe do a larger graphic novel or a trade collection. But I don't want to be away from the audience again for more than 3 or 4 months.
Yeah. I mean, that makes a lot of sense. And again, the nice thing about the Kickstarter platform since the very beginning, like, there really aren't a lot of rules. they leave it open to the creator, and it's about finding what's going to work for your goals, your audience, and the stories that you're trying to tell and the audience that you're trying to build. So we're coming up on 90 minutes here, and I want to respect everybody's time. I appreciate everybody that's tuned in. Had a bunch of comments and things like that. We'll make sure that we get back and check those out and get replies if anybody didn't get any. I did see a question about just the ComixLaunch Pro course. I think that was from Soul Rebound. The best thing that you can do if you're interested in learning about ComixLaunch and ComixLaunch Pro is if you haven't attended one of our master classes, just go to comixlaunch.com/class. There's an hour of my best Kickstarter training. You might see some examples or some projects that from some of these gentlemen and some insights that they've shared over the years just from that. And so we put that together, and then there's information about the ComixLaunch Pro program and a way for you to jump in there. So definitely check that out if you haven't. I want to give everybody a chance to just share maybe one more sort of thought or piece of advice or takeaway, just something that's on your mind that you want to share, and then also where people can find out more from you. And I'll also give another look at some of those pre-launch pages. But maybe start with let's start with Andrew, because he has a project that's live right now.
I don't know any other advice that people haven't shared about things. The one thing I've noticed that we didn't get to coming back is how much more aggressive the spam messaging is on there. And it now seems to be in the shape of everyone works for Kickstarter and I can put you in touch with name XYZ.
Yeah.
I've literally had 4 of them since we've been talking. and they always
my
come
God.
Since
in
we've been
twos.
talking. Oh,
Yeah.
great.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, any
I-
famous celebrities contacting you? And
Well,
promising?
the last one, apparently Michael Kelly from Boom is going to be, he's running their Kickstarter accelerator, and his is, but it's always a Gmail address with a bunch of notes, link to the proper
can't-
Kickstarter profile, and then you get a dodgy Gmail address. So
I
it's always
can't wait
fun
for
games.
Stan
Yeah,
Lee
but-
to send me an email
4.
telling me he's been
Yeah.
really interested in my project and wants to help.
But yeah, that was nice to come back to. But no,
Yeah.
other than that, like Betnoir's run, I think another sort of 28 days or something like that, 29 days. There you go. And it'll trickle in. I know I owe a few updates. Yeah, fingers crossed for that. It should cross the line, I think, quite easily. And then once I'm done, I can, take everything that they've changed and I've had to relearn and pile it into some sort of more exciting new stuff.
Yeah.
But other than that, we'll have this coming out. Damsel, like I said, that was our most successful thing. That got up to be out through the direct market in the States with a big publisher. And then we'll be able to do some more of that. And then I've got the second volume of Minecraft from Dark Horse. That should be out in like October or December, between those months somewhere, depending on what happens. But other than that, stuff should get announced between now and then. And like I say, I'm terrible at social media, but I have a website, closingcomics.com, and I'll try and make that a decent website at some point in the future.
Yeah. Well, keep making good comics first and keeping those first and foremost. The Betnoir project looks awesome, and thanks for being here, Andrew, and joining us. And we're glad to have you back on the Kickstarter platform.
Yeah.
Also launching the next one soon is Phantom Limbs from Jason. Any final thoughts for the group, Jason?
For the group or for people listening, I would just, if you've been away for a while, treat it like it's your first campaign. And I try not to make any assumptions about things I did in the past that would be successful. And I just went in, it's kind of like as to learn, to sort of relearn Kickstarter. You can find me at politestrangers.com. I am also pretty anemic on social media, but I do poke my head up every now and then. Yeah. I treat social media like a visit to Chernobyl. I want to get in and out before it kills me.
I like that. And, I like the tip to treat every campaign, or to treat your comeback campaign like it's your first one. But one of the exercises that I encourage a lot of creators to do, and if you did it like we do it in ComixLaunch Pro, is just like the end of your campaign, you take a little time away, and then you go and you do like a post-mortem, and you actually capture those lessons. What worked, what didn't, what surprised you. There's a whole process that I put in the back of these, because my goal, and I'm ashamed that it took me 12 13 years to actually do it, but like I always wanted a whole shelf of these instead of like the folders that I have that are stuffed in a drawer here. I like the idea of going back and grabbing that number 3 launch. There was something that happened that gave me a spike at this point, and there it is. That's exactly what I did on day 3. That was my action plan for the day. And so if you do have past launches, and sometimes even if you don't have like a record like that, go and reread your updates if you use your Kickstarter updates, and it's like, oh yeah, I did that little contest in the middle there. Oh yeah, somebody made this thing and they asked for this, and I couldn't do it that campaign, but maybe I can do it this one. While there are, I think, there are some advantages to just being a novice and everything being fresh and passionate about it, and going in with fresh eyes, there are a lot of advantages to having done this thing before. There is muscle memory there, so tap into it. But thanks, Jason. I appreciate you being here. And yeah, Matt, any final thoughts or just concepts or things?
Yeah, I mean, if I had any advice to give, it might be kind of counterintuitive when we're talking about like a long time away, but I would say don't rush into launching your Kickstarter campaign if you're not fully prepared. Like, do your pre-flight check. Like, if you have your planner, go through the planner and look at the list of stuff like, do I have this done? Do I have all my stretch goals worked out? Do I have media, podcast appearances or YouTube show appearances lined up for the middle of the campaign when it's most likely I'll be in the dead zone and needing to really push more people to the campaign page. Because I found like I planned and everything and got everything ready to go, and then I put it on pause for a month, and I spent the month before I launched organizing as many appearances on YouTube shows, podcasts, etc., and really hyping on social media in that month before launch, and sort of saying like only 2 weeks, really like trying to get people like hyped up. And then the actual campaign I found really fun, and I think a lot of that was because I'd done a lot of preparation ahead of time, thanks to the ComixLaunch course. And so, yeah, that would be my advice, is to do as much planning and preparation before you launch as you can.
Yeah, definitely great reminder and advice there. And Steamroller Man 1 and 2 is there's a pre-launch page for it, so definitely check that out from
Kickstarter.steamrollerman.com.
There you go. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
And thanks for being here, Matt. And Colin, want to bring us home here.
I think the thing I'm going to try to hew to as I get ready for this is just be giving of yourself. That's what people want. Keep it personal. That's what people want to hear. I've never regretted sharing, what parts of my life that are not related to the comic. People are rooting for us. They're rooting for us to be doing these things that we've dreamed of for years. So let them be a part of that. That's what Kickstarter is just so awesome for. And so when you're not sure what to do, remember that. So sometimes I see posts about, oh, we got this amount and we're this far from this stretch goal and all that stuff. And that's all great. And but sometimes it just feels like empty calories. Give of yourself. Let people know why this matters to you. Let them know what's going on, as you made this book, as you wrote this scene. Just remember, that's what people want. They want a connection with this platform. And if you remember that, you'll probably never be at a loss for, something to share, even if it's hard. And the other beauteous thing about that is that you find your voice. I found my voice as a writer by doing, he didn't pay me to say this, the ComixLaunch course. I found my way to explain who I was as a writer by having to do all those exercises in the first modules. So the more you do that, the more you talk about what you're doing and who you are, the more you become the creator that you can be. So it's a bizarre platform where it gives you your own identity. It gives you an audience. It gives you money. It's crazy. Like it's continues to be really surprising to me that how it works.
Yeah. And I think, just to piggyback on that, so much good stuff there. There's a lot of fear that, oh, well, it's really big name creators now on the platform. The biggest publishers are going there. The biggest IPs are launching mega projects and sucking all the oxygen out of the room. And there is to a certain extent, that is happening. Big names are on there. Some of the best creators are on Kickstarter. Some of the best publishers are on Kickstarter. But you still have the ability to compete on some with things like, bringing yourself, bringing your own passion, bringing your authenticity, like being real on the platform. And that is something that people can't get from every other platform. People can't get from just buying a comic at a comic book shop. And that sort of stories, those behind it, you can compete on that. You might not be able to have the cheapest comic out there, or the one with the most expensive artists that does the world famous that does the covers, but you can compete on telling a really cool story that means something to you, and letting people into your world. So good thing to keep front and center and of mind as you step into your first launch or your comeback launch. I think that's a great way to think about this. Well, hey, I appreciate it. I know we had a lot of really good turnout, people watching live. Appreciate everybody. And I know that there's a lot of good projects to come from people tuning in, as well as people on this platform. And I thank everyone for being here. We can't wait to see what you all launch next. Take care, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tyler.
Thanks, everybody.
All right.